Hello, everyone, and welcome to a casual, I guess we'll call it like a retrospective. Normally, for these types of things, I do a casual review, but today I'm talking about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, both the book and the movie. And because I have so much nostalgia and I don't really know how to review a book, I think I'll call this a retrospective because I really just want to talk about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I don't really want to review it critically or give it a grade or anything like that. I guess going forward, you could just assume that I will give each one of these a 5 out of 5 if you really want to tie a score to it. Because, like most people my age or who grew up with Harry Potter, we all love Harry Potter. It has such a nostalgic feeling, we really grew up with Daniel Radcliffe, and it just, I don't know, it's just such a warm feeling, and I just love the wizarding world. There's just so much depth and character to it all. So that's why I don't really feel like it's a good opportunity for a review, but I really want to talk about my experience reading through and watching the movie, because Autumn and I did this 2 years ago where we both really love Harry Potter, so we decided to read the book, and we took turns reading it aloud to each other chapter by chapter, and then every time we finished a book, we would watch the movie. And so we just finished the book, we just watched the movie. I just want to talk about it, get it out there, my feelings about Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. The correct version is actually the Philosopher's Stone. I'm really not sure why they changed it to Sorcerer's Stone. That's how I grew up learning it, so it sounds kind of weird calling it the Philosopher's Stone, but I do understand that's the original version of it. I just, a warning, if you've never seen Sorcerer's Stone, do yourself a favor, go read the book and watch the movie. I will just be dropping spoilers left and right. I figure it's a really old franchise, and practically everyone's seen Harry Potter, at least the first one. So I'm going to be talking about spoilers, just a little warning ahead of time. I really think that J.K. Rowling did a good job with this first book, setting up the world of the wizards and witches, and also telling a story within that world. I think she only, with the small amount of pages that she had, I think she did a really good job telling us the rules. This is magic, this is what magic can do, these are the objects in the magic world, these are the creatures in the magic world. And granted, she didn't have time to explain everything, or she didn't come up with everything, all the rules in the wizarding world, but she gave us enough that we could follow the story without just what's going on, I don't really get it. I feel like she just did a really good job setting this whole universe up, and it just has so much potential for storytelling and character development and everything like that. And then she, within that, she also told this story of this sorcerer's stone that they believe Snape is trying to get, and I don't know. I just like the whole pacing of it. I never felt like she was just blasting me with information or anything, or just going with story without telling me anything. There's a really good balance to that, if you know what I mean. And I think with the movie only being 2.5 hours, I think they also did a good job just getting us in the whole setting of it. But I maybe it's because I have read the book before I saw the movie. Maybe it's because I'm just such a knowledgeable person when it comes to this franchise that I just kind of take all this Harry Potter information for granted. So I'm really curious, as someone who had never, for some reason, just never knew anything about Harry Potter, I'd be interested to hear after they watched the movie if they really were following all the rules and all the plots and everything like that closely, as much as I do whenever I watch it. I also really like how she sets things up in this first book that don't even come to play in the next book, but way down the line, she talks about this is Sirius Black's bike that Hagrid was riding at the very beginning, or we meet Griphook here, and his story doesn't really come into play until the very end of the series. So I really like how you have to kind of remember these characters' names and stuff because they're going to come back later, or you're never really sure what certain objects are going to come into play into the story later, Dumbledore's little light switch, the Deluminator, just things like that, or the snitch in the mouth. Granted, all these things, I'm not sure if she had plans for them ahead of time or not, but she did a really good job bringing all this subject material back around again. Hermione seems a lot more uptight in the movie than how I always read her in the book. In the book, I always interpreted her as like a nerd, obviously, but she's just really intelligible, maybe a little uptight. But in the movie, she's really snobbish and stuck up. And I'm not gonna use the B word, but she just she seems super like high strung, and I can kind of get Ron's point of view just being put off by her. She mellows out a lot more after the troll bathroom scene, even though she's still pretty uptight after that. But especially in the future movies, I think maybe it's just character development, but Harry and Ron kind of rub off on her a little bit. She like kind of mellows out. She's always like more true to her character. She's very knowledgeable, cares a lot academically, but she just kind of mellows out. She maybe she becomes a little more socially adept. I always wondered how Fluffy got into the room, but like with the trap door to get down to the Sorcerer's Stone, like how they got him in there. I always wondered about like the care of him. Like, do they bring him meat or something? Like, surely that some of the students would have noticed if like Hagrid was hauling this big old bag of meat up to this room, like at this like forbidden room. I'm like, why is he bringing meat? Or like, we looked up afterwards what they did to Fluffy after the events of this movie, after the Sorcerer's Stone was taken, and I guess they just like put him in the Forbidden Forest or something like that. But I always wondered about the like more nitty gritty details about Fluffy, and I guess this is just one of those cases in Harry Potter where we can just say magic. That's yeah, they just use magic to get him in the room and make sure that he's stimulated enough that he doesn't start wrecking the school and giving him food. Magic. I do like this Dumbledore. Unfortunately, he passed away after a couple of the movies, but he was a very old and very like control of the situation kind of Dumbledore. But I gotta be honest, I'm not sure if this actor would work as Dumbledore in the later movies, where Dumbledore is a little more active. He's trying to get the Horcrux. He's got to be a little more moving. In this one he's just a very old and feeble man, which is kind of it's appropriate for the character, but I'm not sure if this actor would have done well for the future movies. I do kind of like the newer Dumbledore better, if I'm being honest. And it's kind of funny, I think I'm in the minority here, because most of the time when I talk to people about this, like my wife Autumn, she is more in favor of the old Dumbledore. And I don't know. I just kind of like the more energetic Dumbledore. The more he just seems more like youthful, and he can move around, and this seems like he's like the character that could actually like take care of Voldemort if he really needed to, in a way. I understand I'm in the minority there. I always thought it was funny how he just totally stole the house cup away from Slytherin at the very end. Just like, rules don't matter. Like, I know that Slytherin had the benefit of having like Snape's really giving them like tons of points and taking points away from all the other cups and things like that. I understand there's a bias to it, and I understand Slytherin's won like all the years back, but it's just like, oh, it doesn't matter how much work you've done, how many points you won. I'm just gonna give this to the fourth place Gryffindor. Like, we're just gonna give him tons of points and just enough to beat you, Slytherin. So sucks to be you. But at the same time, I wonder if I went to Hogwarts, if I would really even care about the House Cup. Like, who cares? It's not like you get anything. It's just like a trophy with your house crest. Like, good job, all that hard work you did. But in like the books and the movies, they're just like so invested. Like, oh, I can't believe Harry lost 50 points. Oh, what a jerk. I hate Harry now. And I think maybe it's just because I didn't have a lot of school pride growing up or anything like that. But I don't, like, who cares? I don't care about the House Cup. But then again, like, I guess there's just that, like, sense of belonging, that sense of being part of a team. Kind of like when you're watching Quidditch, you, like, want your team to win. I don't think I'd really care about that either. But, to each their own. There were some key differences in the movies and books, and I think the movie did a good job picking out the things that we don't necessarily need, but they were certainly like fun details that do come into play later. For instance, like we'll talk about Norbit the dragon. In the book, they have to like smuggle the Norbert to the top of this tower where Ron's brother can come and pick him up. Where in the movie, it's just Draco looks into a window of Hagrid's hut and sees the dragon and tells on them, and then Dumbledore just gives him to, was it Bill or Charlie? I always get the two mixed up. And that's why they got punished. But so just little differences like that. In the Forbidden Forest, they talk a little more to the centaurs. There's like 3 different centaurs. We get to know Ferenz a little bit more, and Ferenz actually becomes a professor in the later books as well. And then just like little other things like the potions room. During the challenges to get to the Sorcerer's Stone, there's like a little riddle, which potion you got to drink to walk through the fire. You know, Peeves was in the movie, but he just like swings past the table brandishing like a little sword or something like that. You know, in the book it goes a little more into depth about Peeves, and you know, he runs the risk of outing the kids when they're wearing an invisibility cloak, and just like messes with the newbies a little bit. And then they talk about like the Bloody Baron, you know, and there's a lot more characters being brought into the story, where if they don't play a major key role to the main plot, I think the movie just writ them out. Like, look, we don't have time to talk about Peeves or the Bloody Baron or anything like that. It's not really important. Let's just get back to our main characters. And I have to wonder if maybe it would be a little overbearing watching the movie but not having read the book. You're just like, wait, what are all these characters? Like, I can't keep track of them all. So I think that was probably a good decision on their part to cut some of those things out. You know, Percy comes into play in a lot of the books, and he actually was in this movie a lot more than the other movies, but they kind of write out his story like Percy's not important kind of thing. And I think in the future movies, I'm not going to criticize the first movie for writing him out because he was in it, but in the later movies they just write him out, and I think that they should have kept him in because the Weasley family has a lot of dynamics, and I always think it's interesting. So I'm bummed that they leave him out in the future movies. I also really like the little illustrations at the beginning of each chapter in all the books. I think they did a really good job setting the scene, and I think the movie was able to take a lot of images from those illustrations at the beginning. They're just, I don't know, I just have so much nostalgia over those little pictures, and I wish I just had a collection of just like all those pictures. Do they make something like that? I've never seen anything, but just let me just see like all the little drawings that he did. I'm not sure the name of the artist, unfortunately, but it's just such a soft spot in my heart. And whenever we take turns reading these chapters, we have to like show each other the illustration at the beginning of each chapter because we just love looking at them. It's really more of like a happy-go-lucky tale. Like, granted, there is an antagonistic force and like the looming threat of Voldemort and things like that, but compared to the future books and movies, it's more just like a happy, fun, like, hey, we did it, we got the Sorcerer's Stone, and you know, there's not really like a dark looming danger to Harry. It's more just like, this is fun. We're learning how to play Quidditch, and we're doing a potions class and things like that. We don't really have to worry about Death Eaters and things like that until the future movies, which get a lot darker. I'm looking forward to Chamber of Secrets. I'm really looking forward to reading it. You know, whenever I read my chapters, I try to do the voices of the characters, and reading Gilderoy Lockhart's voice was always really funny. He talks like this, and well, thanks. And, oh, he never knew that he'd be walking away with my whole collection of books. You know, it's just kind of fun doing the voices for Gilderoy Lockhart. The movie was actually my favorite movie of the series for a really long time. I always loved the Basilisk, and I just really like the pacing of it all, and the spiders and things like that. I think it's gone down a couple pegs in terms of favoritism, but Chamber of Secrets always has a soft spot in my heart. But then again, so do all the Harry Potter movies, so it's always fun reading them, and I'm looking forward to it. So I will get back to you guys when we finish the second book and the second movie. So that should be it for now. Let me know your experience reading and watching the movie. Let me know your thoughts, any fun little details that I have missed these last couple times that I've read it. Just let me know. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. Well, that's it for now, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!